Aaron Rodgers makes the Jets Super Bowl contenders? I think not. Hi everybody, welcome back to First and 10. We are excited to kick off the 2023 league year in the NFL. Free agency is upon us, hot and kicking off. We are rolling. We have a major trade in the NFL draft for next month in April, and let's get right to it. Today's episode is all about the quarterbacks, and it would not be a talking point if we didn't have to mention our friend Aaron Rodgers out there in Green Bay. We've got reports everywhere that the Jets are going to make a trade package offer. Everything says that the deal is in place, that the framework is there, and if Aaron wants to be a Jet, he's going to be a Jet. And sources everywhere are saying that there's a laundry list of demands to make this happen. So already we've got the Jets signing Allen Lazard, his buddy from Green Bay, to a 4-year, $44 million contract, which is just insane if you ask me. You've got last year's Offensive Rookie of the Year in Garrett Wilson. You have a wonderful young slot receiver in Elliott. You still have Corey Davis, who's had several good years with the Jets as playing the other wide receiver spot opposite Wilson. What do you need Allen Lazard for? You need money to pay for other young upcoming players that are due to get paid. Quinn Williams is going to due to get paid after this year, and you still got to make room for that Rodgers contract. So I just don't understand. Rumor has it that he also wants Randall Cobb and Odell Beckham and Mercedes Lewis. Well, let's just unpack those guys for a minute. So first off, what we're hearing is that Odell Beckham Jr. wants a contract north of $20 million a year. This is for a wide receiver that's been out for over a year, who's north of 30 years old. Let's be honest. Paying over $20 million for Odell Beckham. So what are you going to do with the Jets? Who are you letting go? Who are you jettisoning in order to fit all this inside your salary cap? Second thing, Mercedes Lewis. Great blocking tight end. What's he got left in terms of receiving capabilities? And last but not least is Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb, great guy, solid player in his prime, but he's shot. So if you're the Jets and you're looking at this and you're saying, so we've still got to come up with a trade package on top of signing these guys if Aaron wants to come. You've taken a real swing in investing in Nathaniel Hackett. I speak from that as a Broncos fan. Good luck there. If I'm the Jets, I think you've got to look long and hard at yourself in the mirror and say, if you're not convinced Aaron Rodgers puts you in the Super Bowl and a real shot to win, is this something you're really investing in? I mean, seriously? Your offensive line outside of Elijah Vera-Tucker is highly questionable. You have 6 draft picks coming into next year's draft in April. You need that 13th selection to invest in your offensive line. So even if you get Rodgers and you make this all work, exactly what do you think you have to offer him? You have no protection to give him, and you have very little draft capital to give the Green Bay Packers. So if I'm the New York Jets, I'm starting to think long and hard about, is this really an investment you want to make? And even if you pull that off, Jets fans, let's start to be real. You're still the 3rd best team in your division at best, okay? You're not better than Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. And a healthy Tua and a fully loaded Miami Dolphins team, you're not better than them either. Should you get out of your division, you're not better than Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. You're certainly not better than Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. You could make an argument that Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars have you beat as well. So if I'm New York, you may want to think long and hard before you make this investment. This could literally be the Brett Favre move that they made 15 years ago, and you may not even make the playoffs. So Jets fans, if I were you, I'd take a long, hard pass, because even if you secure Aaron Rodgers, not going to the Super Bowl. Moving on, we also now have the Lamar Jackson situation, which is quite entertaining as well. Lamar Jackson's a great kid, right? Wins 75% of his games, but not a great stellar playoff record. He has been league MVP several years ago, but these past few years, he has simply been unavailable at the end of the season, and he wants a contract similar, if not north, of what the Browns gave to Sean Watson. He wants a fully guaranteed contract. He has admitted he's turned down a deal with a guaranteed of $133 million. The Ravens claim they over $100 million difference in terms of what they're willing to offer and Lamar Jackson's asking price. I love what the Ravens have done here. Look, Lamar deserves to get paid. The Ravens are willing to pay him, but they're not willing to go all in. the Deshaun Watson contract was an absolute joke. It was an embarrassment to the league. And quite frankly, the Ravens have done the beautiful thing, which is they are daring somebody to step up and say, okay, we'll sign him to an offer sheet. I don't think the Ravens want to lose Lamar Jackson. And I think they'd love to keep him, but they are not going to be the ones to step out there. They're going to let the market dictate what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson. Look, folks, anytime you're dealing with a tough situation and you're trying to make a really hard decision, which is what the Ravens are trying to do. They're trying to make a really hard decision. The best thing you can do is take a step back, take a breath, and let the situation start to dictate itself a little bit, and it'll make most of the decision for you. And that's exactly what they are allowing the rest of the league to do. They're daring somebody to come in, sign an offer sheet, give the Ravens an opportunity to say, do they want to match it or not? And if they don't, they're going to carry 2 first-round picks. And a lot of people are going to say, well, if you lose Lamar Jackson, who cares about the picks? Then you don't have a quarterback. Well, if I remember correctly, at the end of last year with no Lamar Jackson, a Brett Hundley-led Ravens team almost took out Burrow and the Bengals in Cincinnati. This is a very well-coached team with a lot of talent. I'm not saying that they're going to be better without Lamar Jackson, and I don't think they feel that way either. But I'm telling you that their culture, their front office, their ownership, their coaching staff, they're a well-run group. They will figure it out. They will find another quarterback, and they will figure out how to put a really good team on the field. So Lamar Jackson, you're just going to have to be realistic if you want to be a Raven. And if you're another team out there trying to figure it out, quite frankly, if you're the Jets, that might be a better option since your offensive line isn't very good. You're going to need a quarterback that can run. And Aaron Rodgers at 39 years old can't run that well. So might not be a bad idea for the Jets to explore it. And if you're the Ravens, bravo. Let the market dictate it and then finalize an agreement that works for you. So that leads us to the big trade that happened late last week involving the Chicago Bears and the Carolina Panthers, which I got to be honest, the last time I can't honestly remember the last time I saw a trade where I thought both parties came out exceptionally well. So let's start with the Chicago Bears. They made a decision which I thought was the right decision, which is invest in Justin Fields. Give him another year. Give him an opportunity with actually somewhat of a supporting cast to see what you have. There's some people out there that believe that this quarterback class coming up in next year's draft is sort of a down year. I don't know that I really agree with that. There's some guys I like next year. There's some guys that everybody else seem to think are generational talents. I don't know that I agree with that. But I do believe Justin Fields is an exceptional talent, and he deserves a chance to really be successful. I love the fact that the trade included DJ Moore. I think that's a home run for the Bears. They're already making some additions so far in free agency to their offensive line. And look, there's another really good left tackle out there in Orlando Brown, which I'm shocked the Bears have not extended a massive offer to get out there and get some serious protection for Justin Fields. But now when you go into next season, if you're a Bears fan, before you even hit the draft, you're looking at your 3 wide receivers you're going to line up on the field with Mooney in the slot, Claypool, and now DJ Moore. That is absolutely fantastic. Kmet, their young tight end, is an up-and-comer. They've got solid running backs. They do need to start to build a defense. They've extended some serious contracts in free agency to start building that defense. But this is what the Bears needed to do. And they've also picked up a tremendous amount of additional draft capital. So if Fields doesn't work out, you can make a move next year or the year after to go get a quarterback that you do like. But this was the right move for Chicago. Now hopefully they'll continue to follow up with some more good moves. Shifting focus now to the Carolina Panthers. It's a bummer he had to give up DJ Moore. But it was the right thing to do because Carolina does have an exceptionally talented young roster. They really do. They've got some good young defensive backs. They've got an exceptionally gifted young defensive line with some great talent. Offensive line is really skilled as well. They've got good running backs. They are a little light at wide receiver now without DJ Moore. That does hurt them, but they had to get the quarterback right. There's now a lot of talk already coming out that the Carolina Panthers are torn between Anthony Richardson, which is a little mind-boggling, and C.J. Stroud. Well, 2 weeks ago, we were all talking about Bryce Young was the hands-down favorite to be the quarterback. So, what could this mean? Is it crazy to think that you could try to get somebody to be dumb enough to now jump up into number one and give you draft capital and still get your guy? Could Bryce Young be your guy, but you want the smoke screen to be about Stroud and Richardson so that maybe the Houston Texans feel they've got to make a swap with you because they absolutely have to have one of those guys? I mean, everybody has to think that Bryce Young would be the pick. If you can create some doubt in that, maybe you can recoup some of that draft capital. Who knows? But I find it very hard to believe that Anthony Richardson would be included in that conversation. Look, he had a great combine, but how high you jump and how fast you run and how great you look in street clothes has no bearing on how well you play quarterback. Anthony Richardson started 13 games in college. He completed about 55% of his passes. He's wildly erratic. He's a 2-year project at a minimum. You've got 2 quarterbacks ready to step in and play right now. That's what Carolina needs. I would certainly consider C.J. Stroud if I'm the Panthers, but Anthony Richardson, that smells like a smokescreen to me. That's trying to get somebody to be desperate so that you can still get your guy and recoup some of that draft capital you gave up to Chicago. Either way, Carolina's going to get their quarterback. They're going to put that individual behind a really good offensive line. They're going to give him a really good defense. It's a really good coaching staff. And Derek Carr did go to the Saints, but overall the division itself is still pretty weak. This is an opportunity for Carolina to take a big step forward. They're going to have to go out and get some targets, get some receivers for whoever lines up under center. But I love what Carolina did. I think they're set up for success. I'm going to be eager to see who they're going to take at number 1. And we'll have our mock draft coming out in the next couple of weeks. The last note I want to make, and then we will get to some of the other big free agency moves on some of our next takes. But one of the big trades I did see that happened before the tampering period really started rolling, some of the first news that broke was around the Jalen Ramsey trade to Miami. It's really interesting to me because Miami is making just tons of moves. They're loading up on talent, but I fear they're starting to load up on a lot of talent that may be a little past its prime. Look, I love Jalen Ramsey. He's still on the right side of 30, which is a good thing. He's wildly expensive for another year. You already have Xavier Howard. I mean, do you really need 2 really good cornerbacks? I don't know. I don't know that Miami is ready to make a Super Bowl run. I think they could make a good playoff run, but even does Jalen Ramsey really move the needle? I don't know. I know they only gave up a 3rd-round pick. I like that. But I'm going to be really interested to see how Jalen does this year. He had a really rough year this past year, kind of stemmed back to the previous year's playoff run, where he did not look very good against the Buccaneers, especially did not look good in the Super Bowl. And he had a tough year this past year in L.A. So it's going to be interesting to see, can he bounce back? Can he be that all-pro shutdown corner? If he can, wonderful, because we all know Miami's got a really underrated defensive line, really underrated pass rush, and they're going to need it, because we just don't know if Tua can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, the offense is explosive. But, Miami is really going for it here. And there's so many good teams in the AFC. I fear that if you really try to play the short game right now in the AFC, a lot of teams are going to wind up in some really bad situations. So it's going to be interesting to see how it looks in Miami. If you're Miami fans, a lot to be excited about. But I don't know if a corner is going to tip the balance. Either way, they'll be a lot of fun to watch. All right, folks, well, that's all we got tonight. Love seeing all of you again. Feel free to leave your comments, your thoughts on what you see so far in free agency. And we'll be discussing more of the big moves as everything continues to unfold here on some of our next rolls. Everyone have a great night.